I'm just going to quickly run through some things that hopefully will be useful to people. And as I think it was Rain mentioned to you, said you're going to be using Kahoot. I'm actually using another little app here, which is I find very, very powerful. It's called Menti. So what I'd like you to do, so you can actually follow along and you're going to see why this is important, is if you can open your browser, or you can even do this on your phone, or you can do it on your computer, and go to that link there, www.menti.com, and put in the code you see on your screen there, 197932. And I'll give you a moment to do that. Once you're there, you'll see there's an option to hit a heart. Once you hit the heart, I'll know you've arrived and I'll start to feel your love sharing of me, which is great. Now, the reason this is a really cool app, I'm going to talk about it in a moment, but I'm not actually here to talk really specifically about this particular app. I actually want to talk a little bit about our setup. But you're going to see in the last part and the action part why apps like this, apps like Kahoot and others are particularly useful when it comes to online presentation. Obviously, with an online environment, we really are disconnected, especially in a webinar. At the moment, Oscar's promoting everyone to panelists, so I can see you on your camera, etc., which is really cool. But often in the environment, you're only going to see yourself and that's it. And you don't have any connection with your participants. So it's quite tricky to actually get that engagement that you would have in a real face-to-face environment. So there are ways in which we can try and draw out engagement and try and encourage a bit more engagement. And I'll just touch on that very briefly. So this is not going to be long. I just wanted to cover a couple of technical things which I think might be useful. So I've got 3 hearts, which means 4 hearts, which 4 people have got here. So it's www.menti.com, and then you'll find the code 197932 will bring you on, and you can actually follow along. What's cool about this particular app, you can actually follow along on your phone or on any device, so you don't even have to be watching the Zoom session specifically. Right, I'm feeling more love coming through. Fantastic. Oh, that's lots of love. Right, so I'm going to continue, but you can still join even if you haven't managed to join yet. Nothing will stop you. You can carry on joining. I'm just going to talk a little bit about this common phrase, lights, camera, action. So, that's from the movies. And in a way, that's what we're living in. We're living in a society, in a world that's changed fundamentally. Education's changed fundamentally. We are now doing a lot of it behind camera. And I know for a lot of academics, for a lot of teachers, I work a lot with teachers as well, it's quite daunting. And I think there are a couple of things that are quite important. Besides us probably having to get used to it, as we've all had to, it's just something that's now going to be part of life. And a lot of our presentations and conferences going forward are likely to continue to even be like this, purely because it saves so much time and money. Right, so let's have a start by having a look at a light. Now, first, a slight disclaimer. My current setup where I am at the moment is I literally arrived in this venue 5 minutes before I came online. I've just driven from Cape Town. I've actually flew from Cape Town and then was somewhere else. So it's been all over the place. And I didn't have a lot of time to set up, but typically it is quite important when you do set up and people are going to see your face. You'll see an image, that's my normal environment that I operate in, and that's a classic backlight, terrible. And often people do this because we don't realize that, we think we're all bright and shiny, but we aren't, because the light's coming from behind us and it's hitting our camera. So light direction is important, and just take a moment to think about it. So I know even where I'm sitting now, I'm in someone else's house that I haven't been to for a year, and I just arrived. I try to find a corner. I've got the light coming in from my left-hand side here, which is not too bad. But the way I was originally set up is the light would have been coming from directly behind me, and I would have looked like that. So just be a little bit aware of that, your light direction, because it makes a huge difference. Normally, that is my setup. In my venues, and I'll have that set up for the conference. I have a little box light that I use, but you don't necessarily have to do that. If your lighting is not particularly good, just sticking a lamp in front of you so the light from the lamp shines in your face. Just be aware you need to get light onto your face. You don't want light going into your camera, because light into your camera creates a real problem. So light's coming from your side, and typically you can just move your computer around and try and just get it. And obviously if you turn zoom on, you can see what it looks like. So do get a sense of what it's, because what it's going to look like for your viewers, because it does make it a little more professional when they can see you and it's not, you're not in total darkness. And if you've got a little lamp or something that can help you out, that's really cool. So that's the light part, and I mean, it's not rocket science, it's relatively easy. A couple of other things when it comes to the camera part, and I'm going to talk a little bit more here about some of the technology. One of the things is, and we don't often think about this, but it's the height of your camera. Try and have it so that the camera on your computer is sort of hitting you in the middle of your face. You'll see in that picture I've got there, I've just taken my laptop and stuck it on top of a box. Now, as I've just said, I've arrived at someone's house now, and I've just quickly searched and found a couple of books, and all it's done is raise my laptop. The reason for that is otherwise what tends to happen, people are looking up your nostril hole. Now, as nice as your nostril holes may be, it's not the most flattering angle. The angle that's from the bottom, if you've ever watched these blogger type people, when they take a photo, what they'll often do is take a photo holding their camera up high. If you take a photo from down low, everything is just not as flattering. So a very, very simple trick, just raise your computer slightly, or lower your chair if you can, but if you can't, so in the environment I just found a couple of books just to raise my computer. So that can help a lot just with getting your camera angle, and then try and sit in the middle so that you are clear. If you are able to, and I would normally have this, and as I said, I've just come in from Cape Town, and this is going to only arrive this afternoon, it didn't come with me. Try and be aware of what's happening in your background. So again, as I said, my background now is not totally perfect. I had 5 minutes to try and find something, but try and be aware of what is in your background, especially when you're speaking. If people are walking past, obviously that's going to be distracting. If the toilet door's behind you, people are opening and going in, that's distracting. So try and find something as plain as possible. There's a great, I know they sell these in South Africa, so I'm not sure how they can sell, a little portable green screen that I usually have that sits on the back of my chair. I'm going to give you a link to where I've got a summary of all of this. There's actually a link on there for those of you who want to grab yourself. This thing is just my lifesaver, because obviously with the portable green screen, as you can see on the photo on the right there, you can create a virtual background. Some of your laptops may be able to do that without a portable green screen. My one can't, it needs the green screen. But even if you don't have this green screen and can create a nice virtual background, you would have seen a partner had a virtual background running. It does help make things more professional. But again, lighting's quite important then, because often what happens with the virtual background, you tend to vanish into it if your lighting's not right. That's why the green screen's really good, because then it gets that virtual background absolutely perfect. But if you are going to use a virtual background without a green screen, again, just be a little bit aware of your lighting, turn it on and have a look at what it looks like. And again, also be aware of what your green screen, your virtual background is. Is it on the beach, or what is it? Is it going to be distracting? But even if you can't have any of those, try and find as plain a background or a wall as you can. That tends to work well for your camera. The second aspect, which is quite important, is eye contact. And this is not always very easy, because what we tend to do is we tend to look at the screen. Now, if you're looking at the Zoom screen now, and it depends what you're looking at, but if you look at the Zoom screen, at the moment, I am looking at my screen. Now, that has not the same eye contact than when I look at the camera, because you're in the camera. And you'll see in those two images I've got there, the poor eye contact, that's actually me looking at myself on my Zoom screen, which we tend to do because you see yourself and you talk to yourself. But you don't realize that the camera is up higher and on most computers, and so the camera is not getting the same level of eye contact. So if you are able to, try and look at the camera. Look at your notes, look at your screen, and then it's almost try and remember, you can even sometimes what people sometimes do, they stick a little post-it note by their camera. That's the audience. Draw a little smiley face there. So you look at your screen, and in this screen, we're looking at camera and eye contact, and then look at the little face that you've drawn. It will just help you get a better level of engagement. I mean, I'm sure you're all aware eye contact is so key in life in general, and just even in the digital realm, it also is really important. So if you can maintain that eye contact, it makes people feel like you are talking to them. So try and look at your camera when possible. The other aspect in terms of what I call the camera part, which is everything to do with your lighting and your eye contact, is your ears and what people hear. So we've been running a couple of sound tests. Obviously, be aware of where you're sitting. I'm actually at the moment, because I didn't know what the venue was going to be like, I'm sitting with my AirPods in and using those for my sound. That tends to give a much cleaner sound than if I use my microphone. Because I'm in quite a sort of voluminous area here, I would be picking up, and people are arriving, a little party that's happening now, I would be picking up much more of their sound and echoing. So if you can get into a space that is a little bit better with the sound, a little bit more dampened, obviously that does help. Otherwise, you can use a microphone. A lot of people do put a big headset on. That helps. That shouldn't say micro on the right, it should say mic. So if you do need to use a mic, you can test it. The nice thing in Zoom, under audio settings, you can test your sound. At any stage, you can just open Zoom, start a session with yourself even, and go and test your microphone and your sound. So do be aware of sound, distracting background sound. It's not always easy. Case in point, right now I can hear some kids running around outside. It's not my house. So it's not always easy to get that perfect. But again, one of the things that is probably the key in online presentations is your audio. And Zoom understands this. You'll find even if you've got a bad connection, Zoom will slow down the video feed and always keep the audio, because audio holds everything together. So if you have decent audio, then everything is going to be fine, even if the slide is a little bit delayed, etc. So try and be aware of how you sound. And obviously, as we said earlier, we can test your sound volumes on the day as well. Right, so that's lights, camera, action. Right, so this is probably where I'm most passionate. And I've been working for a long time on a set of pedagogies, which are digital pedagogies, that are around activating teaching. They actually it's called the ACT framework, or the ACT model, which stands for Active Connected Teaching. And it was vital because in the classrooms, in the lecture rooms, we were losing contact with our students. They were just falling asleep because there was just too much consumption. Now, the fact that we've gone online, the fact that we are now digital, hasn't meant that's changed. In fact, it's even become more important because it's harder now to connect with you. And so trying to build in things that are going to enable me to keep you engaged are really important, and to try and think of that in our presentation. You all heard in the old days, death by PowerPoint. Well, the new version of that is Zoom. Putting us to sleep with Zoom. Endless long Zoom sessions. And so try and be aware that we still need to try and activate our audience to keep them involved and engaged. So, to give you an example, that's why I've used this particular app. Okay, this particular app is really cool because not only can I have my slides, I can actually get you involved. I can make you an active participant in my teaching. So, on your device, on your phone or wherever you're using this, you will see that you can now type in something. So I want you to type in one word. In fact, it'll give you three, so you can type in one word if you like, 3 different words. But just one in each little block. One word to describe online teaching, maybe your experience of online teaching or how you are feeling about online teaching. So you can either just put it in one word, or you can put 3 one words, and I'll show you what we're going to do with that in a moment. So if you had to distill this whole era of what you're now experiencing in online teaching down to a word, what would your one word be? So I'm going to give you a moment to do that. Now, this is the action part. This is the participation part. As I said earlier, I can't see you, and in a webinar even more so at the moment, you panelists, so it's slightly different. But typically in a webinar, you can't see your audience. So how do I keep you engaged? How do we connect? How do we communicate? And these are the types of tools that we can use. This is just one simple example. So I can see 3 people have submitted. So immediately I can see, well, who's participating here? I can see out of all the people, 4 people have now typed in something. There, but right now I'm starting to see, okay, I'm not feeling alone. Now you can't see anything on the screen because I've been hiding it purposely. I didn't want you to see it. So here we've got, these are the words people are using to describe online teaching. Challenging. Now this is a word cloud, so the bigger the word, the more people are using that. Convenient, exciting. So we're getting all sorts of exciting starting to get bigger and bigger. Hard work, I like it. Vital, interactive, stimulating, unimagining. Okay, so we've got all easy to learn. Yeah, you see now, they didn't list them as easy to learn. Is that one word? So, absolutely. So I'm glad, right? In the middle, we've got exciting. I do believe it's exciting, and I agree. It is hard work, and it is challenging. And I like the way that exciting and challenging sit side by side there. And just below it, limitless. Absolutely. The opportunities are huge. It's just about a new paradigm. It's a new approach. And it's not easy. Anything new is always difficult. And trying to come up with new ways. It's no longer stand and deliver content. How do we do it now when all I'm doing is engaging you in that little screen? We need to rethink. So I've just had a bit of engagement with you, and I've managed to have you communicate with me. You have been activated. So what I developed as part of my training, and I'll actually be talking about this more when we get to the conference, I've got a session there, are 5 digital age pedagogies. And these are the 5 pedagogies. And I'm not going to talk about them at the moment, but they're called curation, conversation, correction, creation, and chaos. And in my session in the conference, I'll go through this in a little bit more detail. But what you can do if you like is I put a link at the bottom of the screen. If you just jot it down somewhere, bit.do/action it. It's just a shortcut that will bring you to a blog post that I wrote on my website that basically is covering what we're talking about in this session and some more. There's a video there and some other content, which obviously I'm not going to go through. So if you just jot that down, you can go and look at the video. You can find out more about these pedagogies and some of the tools that support it, etc., on the website. But you can find it more on the blog post that's here. Right, now another exciting part about learning online is trying to get people, now I think it was Lorraine mentioned you were going to use Kahoot. I love Kahoot, and I often use Kahoot, and I'm going to have a quick example. This is similar to Kahoot, but it's built into Menti, where we're going to have a quick quiz. So we're going to make sure you've been listening to what I've been saying. There's only 2 questions in this quiz, and we're going to see who comes out top, and I'm sure Partner's got some incredible gift, a prize for the top person. I can just imagine this. This is going to be something awesome. Now, here's the thing. You're going to get a question, and you're going to answer the question on your device. The faster you answer, the more points you get. Okay, so you've got to be ready. You've got to be quick. But just as an aside, if you answer fast and wrong, you get no points. Right, here we go. So, multiple choice. The question is going to appear. You've got to be quick. Which of these is correct? Which of these is correct? And there's a timer counting down. So you've got to get in your answers as quick as you can before the timer runs out. And we're into our last few seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and time is up. Right, let's see who was listening. And lights, camera, action. Wrong. That is misspelt. Lights, camera, action. No, that is wrong. Lights, camera, action. 4 people getting it right. Not listening. You're not reading carefully. All right, that was a bit of fun. But I can see who's focused. Who's concentrating? Who, I can bet you some of you, I'm just going to answer fast. Yeah, but I caught you. Right, so the whole concept of teaching online is about lights, camera, action. Spell it right. So 4 people getting it right. So let's have a look at the leaderboard. Who is on top of the leaderboard after that first question? Shamila is in the top, Margaret, Puffy, Benson, the top 4, and all of those others with 0 points. Right, so Shamila's top because she was the fastest. But there is one more question. So anyone can still take the lead. This is the second question. Remember, it's about speed and accuracy. Right, loosen up, loosen your heads, loosen your arms. Because here we go. Well, second and final question in our quiz. Which is correct? It is best to... Which of these? Five seconds. Quickly get your answers in. Were you listening? 2, 1, and time is up. Well done. 11 people getting it right. Look at the camera on my laptop. Yes, you don't have to look above the camera. If you look above the camera, you will look a bit silly. Essentially, the camera is the eyes of the people. So when I look at the camera, I'm looking at you. So 11 people getting it right. 2 thinking maybe, yeah, well, maybe your camera is not quite right. But typically, you can just look at the camera and all is going to be right. So let's see who is the winner after that. Who is the undisputed world champion of the competition? And here we have them. On the top of the leaderboard, Shamila wasn't the fastest that time, so something could change. Or no, she was fast. She was very fast. Well, she was the fastest, and Shamila takes it. Well done, Shamila. Everyone goes crazy. You'd have to send a gift to Shamila, and also a gift to Puffy for coming second, and a gift to Benson for coming third, and all the way down to Margaret. So don't worry. Well done, everyone. Okay, so Shamila taking it there. Oh, so on the ball, obviously listening to everything that I'm saying. Right, so that was just a little taste, everyone, of having some interactivity, and it becomes so important, not only in the blended classroom, which it is important that we have activity, but even more so when we're online, because of this disconnect, this gap, this physical gap between us. But I just want to finish with this. Authenticity is everything. I was running a webinar. I run a webinar series about once a month called Behind the Screens, and I interview teachers and principals of schools and academics. And there was an interesting conversation I had with a vice principal from a school, and he said something that his pupils at his school would rather hear Mrs. Smith, the teacher, than an expert from Khan Academy. And that's fascinating. You know, what they were interested in is not the polished performance of someone who's produced a fantastic video. They were more interested in the relationship they had with Mrs. Smith, the teacher. And so authenticity is everything. We don't have to become Hollywood producers. Yeah, there's some basics that I think are important. Get your lighting okay and have your sound in your background. But anyone can do that in 10 minutes. But at the end of it, what's going to carry it? It's you as a person. It's your conversation through this medium with the audience. And just be authentic. Be yourself. Don't worry about, well, I'm just saying, the makeup and the hair and all the glitzy stuff that we sometimes think has to be there. Just be you. And I think that really is, at the end of the day, what people want. That's what makes all the difference. So that, I think, was everything I had to say. Let me just check. Yep, there we go. That is Lights, Camera, and Action. That's my website at the bottom there. If you want to visit the website and find out more about teaching in an active way, that's where we have some of our online courses around active teaching for activatedacademy.com. So that's all I wanted to say, and I'm going to click my screen share at this point, and it's over to Aposna.